Hey everyone. So today we're going to be diving into something I know you guys are super interested in. It's robots in agriculture. You actually sent over this really cool YouTube video called A New Era in Agriculture, Can Robots Feed the World? It's from a channel called AI Applications. And I have to say, it's pretty mind-blowing. And I know you already have some background on this, so we can skip right to the good stuff like the, crazy stats and crazy tech developments.
Yeah, for sure. It really is a field that's, I guess you could say, ready for some major changes. And the challenges that modern agriculture is facing are a big reason why we're seeing this robotic revolution kind of take off.
Yeah, the video definitely lays out those challenges really clearly. Labor shortages,
Yeah.
sustainability concerns, and of course the constant threat of climate change. You actually highlighted the labor shortage in your notes, so maybe let's just start there.
Yeah, definitely. So the video mentions that something like 55% of farmers are struggling to find enough workers. But like when you look at a state like California, they produce a huge portion of our fruits and vegetables, and that number jumps to a crazy 70%. And it's not even just about finding people to do the work, it's about like the stability of that workforce. Like a lot of farms rely on seasonal labor, and that often means undocumented workers who are in a really precarious position.
Yeah, it's a huge vulnerability,
Yeah.
especially for something that is, so essential to literally all of us.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you think about the amount of work that goes into traditional farming, all the manual labor, it's kind of no wonder that automation is becoming more and more appealing. You also mentioned being curious about the tech behind all these robots. The video breaks it down into like a few main categories:
Yeah.
planting and weeding, harvesting,
Okay.
and monitoring. So maybe let's jump into that first category, planting and weeding. What were some of the things that stood out to you?
Well, one thing that I find really interesting is how precise these robots can be. We're talking robots that can plant seeds with like centimeter accuracy,
Mhm.
making sure that like each seed is at the optimal depth and spacing. It's not just cool technology, it's actually a game changer when it comes to, reducing waste, like seed waste, and maximizing how much food we can actually grow.
The video highlights this one robot called the Digital Farmhand. It was developed at the University of Sydney. And it sounds super versatile. It can plant, it can weed, it can analyze the soil, it can even collect data on like how healthy the crops are. Is this kind of multifunctionality the future of these robots?
It really seems like it. Like having a single robot that can do a bunch of different things, that just makes things so much more efficient. And it means you don't need to have like a ton of specialized machines. The digital farmhand is a really good example of this trend toward having these more integrated robotic systems.
Weeding robots are also getting a ton of attention, especially the systems that use AI and lasers to target weeds super precisely. The video mentions this one called the Carbon Robotics Laser Weeder. It sounds straight out of Star Wars.
Right, but it's real, and farmers are already using it. The precision of these laser weeding systems is just incredible. They can target individual weeds without hurting the crops around them. So that means farmers don't need to use as many herbicides, which is obviously better for the environment.
So it's a win-win for the farmers and for the planet.
Exactly. And then there's this other one, it's called the Nexus Robotics R2 Weed 2. And it's cool because not only does it remove weeds, it also gathers all this data that can be used to analyze the soil. It's
Yeah.
another example of how these robots are becoming more than just, labor-saving devices. They're actually becoming valuable tools for like data collection and overall farm management.
That data collection aspect seems super key. It's not even just about replacing human labor. It's about like using that information to make better decisions.
For sure. Which actually brings us to our next category, harvesting robots.
Oh yeah, this is the one I was the most curious about, especially when it comes to those more delicate crops, like fruits and vegetables. How are robots handling that?
Well, it's pretty impressive. They're surprisingly dexterous. Like you have robots like Harvest, CROO. It's specifically designed for picking strawberries. And it's crazy accurate and fast. This robot can pick a strawberry plant in like 8 seconds with 98% accuracy. That's faster and more consistent than most human workers. And because it's only picking the right berries, it's actually improving the quality of the produce.
The video also features this other robot called the Agrobot E-Series. It has all these multiple arms that it uses to grip and cut and pack produce all on its own. It's wild. Imagine these robots working alongside human workers. They can handle all the tedious, repetitive tasks.
It's a pretty cool vision of the future of agriculture, one where robots and humans are working together to put food on our tables. And we haven't even talked about the monitoring aspect yet. That's where things get really interesting.
Oh, you're talking about drones, right? I know you've been doing a bunch of research on drone technology in agriculture, so I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Drones are seriously revolutionizing how farmers monitor their crops. They can cover huge areas of land really quickly and efficiently. They can capture these high-resolution images and sensor data. It's a wealth of information about crop health, soil conditions, irrigation efficiency, like
Mm.
you name it. Before drones, this kind of aerial monitoring just wasn't possible.
The video highlights Precision Hawk as a leader in this space. It's interesting, though, because even though they had some financial troubles a couple years ago, their drones are still really widely used. It just shows how much of an impact they've had. I remember you mentioning something about LiDAR and hyperspectral imaging. Can you explain what those are and why they're so useful for agriculture?
Oh yeah, for sure. So LiDAR, it stands for light detection and ranging, and it basically uses lasers to create these super detailed 3D maps of the terrain. It's super useful for things like assessing the topography of a field, identifying drainage problems, even measuring how tall the crops are.
So it's like giving farmers X-ray vision for their fields.
Haha, yeah, exactly. And then you have hyperspectral imaging. It captures information from a much wider range of the light spectrum than regular cameras. So farmers can actually see things that would be invisible to the naked eye, like plant stress, nutrient deficiencies, even early signs of disease.
Ooh, that's like giving farmers superpowers. Yeah. The video also talks about this other drone, the Grim-X. It's known for being autonomous and having this really lightweight design so it can maneuver easily. It seems like drones are getting more and more sophisticated and user-friendly all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the data that they're collecting is totally changing how farmers make decisions. It's not about relying on gut feelings anymore. It's about using data to optimize every single aspect of farm management.
Speaking of data-driven insights, the video features this case study of Bowles Farming Company in California's Central Valley. They're a sixth-generation family farm, and they've really embraced all of this robotic technology. What was it about their story that stood out to you?
Well, what really struck me about Bowles Farming Company was how they're kind of weaving all these different robotic technologies together to create this holistic approach to farm management. They're not just using drones for monitoring. They're also using handheld tablet applications
Mm.
to streamline their operations and improve communication among their team.
So they've created this connected ecosystem where the robots and the humans are working in sync.
Exactly. And it's clearly working for them. They've seen improvements in crop management. They've increased their labor efficiency, and they're saving a ton of money. The video mentioned that they've been able to optimize their water and fertilizer use because of all the data they're getting from the drones, which is great for their bottom line and great for the environment.
It's a perfect example of how this tech can make a real difference. Bowles Farming Company is kind of like a glimpse into the future of agriculture. Speaking of the future, the video paints a pretty exciting picture of what's to come. Swarms of autonomous robots, specialized robots for all these hyper-specific tasks, and advanced AI systems that are crunching tons of data. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. What are your thoughts on all these future developments?
Well, I think it's important to remember that even though this technology is evolving so quickly, it's still pretty early days. We're still figuring out how to integrate it into existing farming practices, and there are still a lot of technical and logistical challenges, but the potential is definitely there.
You mentioned autonomous robots. The video talked about them working together seamlessly, like a well-choreographed dance.
Mm.
What kinds of capabilities make a robot autonomous in agriculture?
Basically, an autonomous robot in agriculture is one that can do its job without a human directly controlling it. It can navigate the fields, it can tell the difference between crops and weeds, it can make decisions based on sensor data, it can even communicate with other robots to coordinate tasks. This level of autonomy is still being developed, but we're seeing a lot of progress in areas like machine learning, computer vision, and robotics.
The video also highlighted specialized robots that are designed for very specific tasks, like pruning, weeding, even applying pesticides super precisely. It's like having robot surgeons for plants.
It is pretty mind-blowing, and it could really help reduce the amount of chemicals used in agriculture, which is obviously better for the environment, and for food safety. Imagine a robot that can identify and remove a single diseased plant. That could prevent the spread of infection, and we wouldn't need to use as many pesticides.
That would be amazing. But it also makes me wonder about jobs. Like if robots start taking over all these specialized tasks, what happens to the people who are currently doing those jobs?
That's a valid concern, and it's something that we need to be really thoughtful about. Like with any big technological shift, there are going to be changes in the job market. Some jobs are going to be automated, but new jobs are also going to be created. The key is to make sure that there are opportunities for people to learn new skills so they can transition into those new roles.
The video touched on the role of AI in this whole robotic farming revolution. It talked about AI systems that can analyze huge amounts of data from robots, from sensors,
Yeah.
from all sorts of sources to give farmers insights that they've never had before. It's like having a super intelligent farm advisor in your pocket.
That's a great way to put it. AI has the potential to completely revolutionize how we manage farms. Imagine AI systems that can predict how much food a farm will produce, optimize irrigation schedules, identify pest outbreaks before they even happen, even personalize farming practices based on the conditions of each field. This kind of data-driven decision-making could make agriculture so much more efficient and sustainable.
It all sounds super promising. But I'm also curious about the potential downsides. Are there any risks or challenges that come with relying so heavily on AI?
Well, there are always risks when you're dealing with new technologies, and AI is no exception. One concern is that AI algorithms can be biased. Like, if they're trained on data that reflects existing inequalities, they could actually make those inequalities worse. For example, if an AI system is trained on data from farms that mostly employ people from a certain demographic, it might unintentionally discriminate against other groups.
That's a really important point. It shows how crucial it is to make sure that AI systems are developed and used ethically and responsibly.
Absolutely. Another concern is the risk of hacking or data breaches. As farms become more connected, they also become more vulnerable to cyber attacks, which could be devastating. It could disrupt operations, compromise sensitive data, even put food safety at risk.
So cybersecurity becomes even more important in this connected farming world.
Definitely. And then there's the issue of transparency. Like, as AI systems get more and more complex, it can be hard to understand how they're making decisions, and that lack of transparency can make it hard to trust them and to hold them accountable.
It sounds like we need to be very careful and thoughtful as we integrate these powerful technologies into our food systems. The stakes are pretty high, and we need to make sure that we're not creating unintended consequences.
I totally agree. It's about finding that balance between technological innovation and social responsibility, between pushing the boundaries of what's possible and making sure that we're not leaving anyone behind.
So we've talked about the potential benefits and challenges of all these future developments in robotic farming, but let's zoom out for a second. What does all of this mean for the future of food?
I think it has the potential to transform our entire food system in
Mhm.
some really profound ways if we can navigate these challenges responsibly and really harness the power of this technology. We could see a future where farming is much more efficient, more sustainable,
Mhm.
and more resilient.
So we're talking about a future where we can grow more food with fewer resources and do it in a way that's better for the environment and fairer for workers.
That's the idea.
It sounds pretty amazing,
Good.
but is it realistic? Are we really on the verge of a robotic farming utopia?
Well, utopia might be a bit of a stretch, but I do think we're at a turning point. The convergence of robotics, AI, and data analytics is creating a real possibility of a future where technology plays a much bigger role in food production.
It's exciting, but also a little bit daunting. But I think you've done a great job of highlighting both the potential and the challenges. Ultimately, it comes down to us, like how we choose to embrace and manage this technological revolution.
Absolutely. It's not just about the technology, it's about how we use it to create a better future for ourselves and for the planet.
So we have a lot to think about. This deep dive into robots in agriculture has been fascinating, eye-opening, and even a bit inspiring. But before we wrap things up, there's one big question we need to address, the one posed by that YouTube video that started this whole conversation. Can robots feed the world?
Ah, yes. $1 million question.
I mean, it really is the question, isn't it? We talked about how robots could help with labor shortages and sustainability
Hmm.
and efficiency. But can they actually solve, like, the global food crisis?
It's tough to say. There's no easy answer. There's so much hype around robots in agriculture. It's easy to get caught up in all the excitement, but I think we need to be realistic too.
So you're saying robots aren't like a magic solution?
Exactly. They're a tool, a really powerful tool, but still just a tool. And like any tool, it's all about how we use it. We can't just like throw robots at the problem of world hunger and expect everything to be fine. We have to address the root causes of food insecurity. Things like poverty, inequality, and conflict.
That makes sense. Technology can be a really powerful force for good, but it can't just fix everything on its own.
Right. And we also need to think about the potential downsides of using robots in agriculture. Like, what happens to the millions of people around the world who depend on farming for their jobs? How do we make sure that this technology doesn't make inequality worse?
Those are really important questions. We touched on the idea of job displacement earlier, but there are all these broader social and economic impacts to consider.
Definitely. And we can't forget about the environmental impact either. Like robots can definitely help us farm more sustainably, but they also take energy and resources to build and operate. We need to make sure we're not just creating new problems.
So taking a step back
Yeah.
and looking at the big picture,
Mm.
the social, the economic, the environmental, we have to weigh all of that against the potential benefits.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance where we can use robotics to improve food security without creating a bunch of new problems in the process.
It's a tough balance to strike, but these conversations are so important to have now, before this technology becomes even more widespread.
I agree. We need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to have these discussions, involve everyone who might be affected, and anticipate potential challenges so we can be prepared.
So going back to that original question, can robots feed the world? What do you think?
Well, it's not a yes or no answer. They definitely have the potential to make a big difference, but it all depends on how we develop and use this technology. It depends on how we address those social and economic and environmental challenges that are all tied up with food security. And it depends on our willingness to work together, to innovate, and to adapt to a world that's constantly changing.
It sounds like the answer isn't really about the robots. It's about us, the humans who are creating them and using them.
I think that's a good way to put it. The future of food is ultimately in our hands. Robots can be incredibly powerful tools, but we have to use them wisely.
Well said.
Mm.
This deep dive has given me, and hopefully everyone listening, a lot to think about. It's clear that robots are already changing the world of agriculture, and their impact is only going to grow. It's a really exciting time to be paying attention to all of this. Any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
Just stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. This is a field that's changing so quickly, and it affects all of us. The choices we make today will determine what our food system looks like in the future, and really what our planet looks like. So let's keep asking questions, exploring new possibilities, and working together to create a food future that works for everyone.
Couldn't said it better myself. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explore the world of robots in agriculture. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic. So until then, keep those brains buzzing.